Hello, I'm PRETISH RAJA-HELM, and I'm one of the founders of Aashna Counselling Psychotherapy here in North Finchley.
I'm Jamie CRABB. I'm a member of the Aashna Counselling Psychotherapy creative team. This is our There Is a War series exploring disability and ableism. Actually start just by giving recognition to the amazing two newsletters that has come before this from Erika and April, which have been, really beautiful in terms of them reflecting on their experience of disability and ableism in relation to therapy and their lived experience. We wanted to take this opportunity to talk about Aashna's journey in terms of ableism and how we came up with the title of the There Is a War series together with April and Erika. And it was really because of a physical wall, wasn't it, Pritesh? Which is there was a physical wall here at Aashna in terms of the toilet area we knew couldn't be changed. I wanted to start, Pritesh, by asking you the question about that early journey of finding Aashna and thinking about accessibility.
In all honesty, there was an idea of accessibility, but it wasn't at the forefront of our thinking and being. And there were so many variables in this. And the space that we worked in before weren't completely accessible. In our innocence, it wasn't at the forefront and it wasn't something that we thought in depth about. However, we really wanted to create a space that was inclusive. And that's fundamentally at the core of our ethos. So we found this space. It actually had a ramp going up and we thought, okay, at least there is a way for therapists and clients and others to come into the space. And that was as far as we got. And when we were actually renovating, the landlords wouldn't let us change certain positions of walls, etc., in the building, in the toilets area particularly, but we could make rooms accessible. But to get to the bathroom or even the kitchen area would be impossible.
From the early days, it was almost like, we don't have an accessible toilet, so we're not accessible to that. Yeah. And I think April has once said, she'd heard about Aashna and she's really interested in it, but she had heard it wasn't accessible. In some way, I think we'd embodied that.
And here we were saying we value inclusivity. So there was this tension in that. And it wasn't, say, we didn't try many different ways to become accessible. We reached out to builders, contractors, figure out how we might make it more accessible. And it was a real issue for us. We went to local restaurants and cafes to think, okay, clients and therapists, they could use them. So there was somewhat of a plan, but it's not ideal, this fundamental need that we all have. And it wasn't something we could offer. With a lot of grief in that as well.
There was this sense of there was a wall inside of us,
yes,
wasn't there?
Absolutely.
And that was something we really needed to attend to. Yeah. It was quite pivotal. I remember first meeting April, and that was a visible, non-visible, disabled therapist group, and meeting her energy and just hearing from her and other therapists about how inaccessible therapy practices were. And what came to us, I think, really was that, wait a minute, why are we not inviting disabled therapists into the space to think about the space a little bit more, to think beyond what we had perceived to be the limitations of the space. So that was a real turning point.
Let's take a couple of steps back in terms of our own internal walk, right?
Yeah.
And this whole process, and we could speak more to it, but really grappling with our own ableism is fundamentally what I think the gift of Erika and April has been here in our community. This wonderful invitation that they accepted to help consult us on where we are as a space was crucial. But we got to a place where we thought, okay, we could do all this work, but actually there are therapists here who wouldn't even know how to welcome someone in and hold them and support them in a therapeutic process. We needed
a process. Yeah. I remember it was with Erika. I remember how that, you saying that aloud, actually, Pritesh, now we're here in our bodies.
Yeah.
We took a breath and went, actually, as a community, we have work to do first in terms of our own internalized ableism. And that was such a shifting point. To invite this exploration of ableism. Tough exploration.
Right. Exactly. Yes. And actually that came from other intersectional identity positions, so being inclusive, if we're working with race, we really have to tend to our internal racism and those positions. So I think we walked the talk, and we really wanted to get a more than good enough place around working with our ableism and supporting those who are visibly and non-visibly disabled before we actually invite them into the space. And that's become a core fabric of anyone else that joins Aashna now. These are ongoing conversations, ongoing processes, which are so valuable.
And so just shifting back to the process that we then went on around physical accessibility, which was really important. April came to work out what was possible. And it was really extraordinary, actually. I remember, there were just parts where we were like, oh, wait a minute, this room's accessible, that one isn't. How can we change the toilet? Oh, actually, certain wheelchairs can get into the toilet.
And Jamie, I feel these were little things as well that we could have done. And that's the honest truth. But it took someone from a different lived experience that could say, you could just do this, this, and this at minimal cost. And it made the world of difference.
And to really problem solve that together. That was what was really beautiful about it. We moved from feeling we're not accessible at all to being like, oh, wait a minute, these are the ways we are accessible. And that gave us the possibility of also being able to say, these are the ways we're not accessible. For example, we don't have a fully accessible toilet space. It can fit certain wheelchairs and people with some mobility. But for people who that's not possible and they need an accessible toilet, then we would be able to think about what provision was here locally. And to be transparent about it, developing Aashna's access page and saying, this is how we are accessible, and not being a labour to navigate. And
it was a real shift, actually, for me and others in the space to go from we are not accessible to these subtle changes, and some big ones as well that we later got to. And what that opens up and what that then invites to Aashna and the lived experience of clients and therapists, it's just phenomenal how it's changed the atmosphere and the culture of the space.
Absolutely, it's opened up conversations, hasn't it? Do you remember that day that I came in and I had first seen some of the big structural changes? I just got very emotional because you could feel the work we had all put in and together.
I think, just to paraphrase something that April and Erika and you all said in your own different ways, was something was spoken, something was longed for and needed, and we all made that happen as a community. And that's the gold dust moment, isn't it? To speak to that emotional resonance that you had. We made something happen collectively. The labours kind of showed themselves.
And it's an ongoing journey, isn't it? We're going to be moving on to thinking about neurodivergence and sensory and medical conditions. We can make this as accessible and as a welcoming space as possible.
The therapists here have found it phenomenal in terms of their own development in their practice and feel more confident. So that's been a crucial part of what's been happening here.
I was just thinking about our own internal processes, and we were talking about Adrienne Marie Brown's idea of loving corrections and how that came through. We had to really face these moments and correct ourselves. We didn't get this right. How did we get fixed in this position? And to be open to be lovingly corrected
and to receive it, right? Receive those loving corrections. It was humbling as a process, and just to honor, that none of this could have happened. It came through the process of the Aashna Plus service and the Aashna Plus collective. These were conversations that were had in there, and some of it was funded through the Aashna Plus project, and some of it was funded through Aashna as a collaboration. And just to honor that, the Aashna Plus project is subsidized by donations. So to honor some of those donations went to making these changes happen.
I'm just thinking of a final message you want to say to other.
You can do it too.
That's it. This is possible. Let's recognize the walls we're putting up around accessibility. And what if we would look at it from that perspective? Where is it possible to make accessibility? Right. How can we be transparent at how we're not to make sure that we're as accessible as possible for disabled folk?
Absolutely. And like we said, there could be very small changes. These are little steps to accessibility that can support your practice and you and the people that you hope to invite. I remember the concept of anticipatory welcomes.
Anticipatory welcomes, I love that concept. How do we make sure that our space, our energy. We're always working towards an anticipatory welcome, and that to me is beautiful. It's really precious. There's still more to do, but we hope this sharing offers something to other therapists
and other spaces to think or reflect. And if you want to reach out, please do. They'll be welcomed.
Just to end, a heartfelt thank you to everybody who's engaged in this process and made this happen.
And to really honour you, Jamie, you have been steering these projects alongside others as well.
Yeah, it's been an absolute joy to see it unfold. Thanks for listening.
Yeah,
for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.